We do have a disclaimer we have to give you before we start. In order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we'll be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of the class. Participation in the online class is voluntary. Physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. Strongly recommend that you participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure you move nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you're participating in a yoga class or a class that involves laying on the ground, this one does not involve laying on the ground at all. But they recommend using a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. If you experience any sort of pain or injury, stop and seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that each participant have an annual physical examination and follow the advice of your healthcare provider before participating. And they don't add people after the start time because they wouldn't hear that. Okay, I'm in my living room. So in my wireless mic died. So I'm having to use one with a cord and try not to trip over it. Can't see the feet. That's Leo laying on the chair there, and that's Annie back on the sofa. Sometimes they fall asleep and snore, so if you hear snoring, that's where it's coming from. Qigong has been around for maybe 4,000 or 5,000 years. It comes from China. Qi stands for vital energy. Gong just stands for cultivation or work. So it's a way of trying to cultivate energy. It's used for health. It's used for martial purposes. It's also used for spiritual purposes. If you've ever practiced Zen or Chan Buddhism, this comes from Taoist philosophy, and Taoism sort of combined with Buddhism to become Chan. So they see spiritual development as coming through postures and sitting and standing meditations. I want to start off by getting your foundation set up. This is going to be kind of an overall introduction to Qigong, and in subsequent weeks we'll build on that. You have yin energy in the earth, yang energy in the heavens, humans are in between, and you're connecting yourself to both. You're getting yourself grounded. You have an invisible line around the outsides of your feet. There's a lot of visualization in this. So everything inside that rectangle around the outside of your feet is your foundation. And you want to build a very solid one that's going to be standing for a very long time. It's also a way of grounding yourself when you're feeling stressed. Bring yourself back to where you are right now. So just start to feel how your feet are connected to the floor. Just make sure you're wearing flat shoes. Feet are as parallel as you can get them. If you have issues with your hips, knees, or ankles, you can have your toes out a little bit, and that's okay. In all of this, there's a 70% rule. You only do 70% of whatever your capability is at this moment, and you ease into things. There's no 110%. That's when you get injured. Also, you never lock a joint. You never fully compress. You never fully extend. That includes your knees as well. Everything we do, knees and toes are going to be pointed in the same direction. And if you're standing like this, the knee will always be behind your toe if you were to drop a line from your knee. If you've ever had acupuncture or acupressure, it's also based on that. You have acupressure points in the center of each forefoot. Translates as bubbling wells. It's first one, the kidney meridian. You can visualize an energetic connection attaching you to the earth. The most stable connection is also a 3-point stance. So you can visualize rooting from those 3 points. Ball of the foot at the base of the big toe, ball of the foot at the base of the little toe, center of the heel, just rooting down into the earth, getting as stable and as solidly connected to the floor, to the earth as you can. So it's very hard to get you off your feet. You start to relax into it. They call it sinking your chi. It's relaxing your body down into the earth. Makes it very hard to get you off your feet. Second grounding is to actually the heavens, upwards to the sky. You have another acupressure point. It's the same as the spot of the crown chakra in yoga. It's called the Ba Wei in Chinese. You can visualize an energetic connection pulling you upwards, or a line attached there pulling you upwards. If it does, as it brings you up, it stretches your spine, it makes you taller, stacks your vertebrae on top of each other, and starts to make adjustments to your body. So the tops of your hips are parallel to the floor, tailbone drops down a little bit, hips move back a little bit, your stomach flattens out, your lower back flattens out. Again, if that doesn't feel comfortable, just relax into whatever feels best for you. Line across the tops of your shoulders, comes parallel to the floor, so you're not leaning to one side or the other. And your shoulders are relaxed in a center line. They're not up here around your ears or slouched forward or pulled back like at attention. You're just relaxed. Back of your head rises up, your chin tucks in a little bit. And it's working on getting your head balanced on your shoulders. Your head weighs about 10 pounds for every inch or so out of alignment. It adds an extra 10 pounds or so that the muscles in your neck, shoulders, and lower back have to work to support. So one way to reduce pain and increase actually serenity and comfort is just to have your head nice and balanced on your shoulders. So it's not tilted to one side or the other. It's not tilted to the front or the back. It's just right in the middle. If you were to drop a line from your earlobe, it would go through the center of your shoulder, center of your hip, down to the center of your ankle. So you're perpendicular to the floor. The other thing is if you drop a line from that Ba Wei spot down through the center of your body to the perineum, it hits that foundation right in the center, so it might hit equally distant from each ankle or equally distant from each bubbling well, depending on how you're built. So at this point, you're balanced in all directions in what's called the central neutral position. And you focus on your breathing, because when you're in a neutral position like this, your organs function better. You're able to breathe in a more relaxed way. Typically, as we get older, we breathe more from up here instead of down here. When we're very young, we breathe from our abdomen. So if you do a quick experiment and have your hands here, when you breathe like you normally breathe, this is the hand that hopefully is moving. If you're breathing from up here, you're doing a stress-related breath that's going to increase the stress levels regardless of what's going on. It just gives a message to your brain, we're not breathing as efficiently as we could, and that's a stress response. Relaxation response is breathing from down here. So when you inhale, the 70% rule applies to this too. You don't have to inhale as deeply as you can, just to get relaxed. Pull that diaphragm down and you feel an expansion all the way around. When you exhale, you pull the pelvic floor up to move as much air out as you can. So in the next inhale, you get in even more air. You make the exhale last just a little bit longer than the inhale. That gets the relaxation response going in your body as well too. Chinese medicine, they have you touch the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth. They see that as connecting an energy channel that runs down the front and another one that runs up the back. Doesn't matter if you believe that or not. In Western medicine, when you touch your tongue there just right, it disengages the muscles in your jaw. And I learned that before I ever learned Qigong and Tai Chi from having TMJ. When you touch your tongue there, you disengage the muscles in your jaw and you can't clench your teeth. So just breathe at your own pace. You can inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. With allergy season, if you need to inhale and exhale through your mouth, that's okay. You try to use the nose because it warms up the air. It starts to filter the air, warm up the air before it ever hits your throat and your lungs. On the exhale, if you exhale out through your mouth, you can sigh and make a sound. With that sound, you let whatever tension, whatever tightness is in your body just flow out and away from you. So just breathe. If you feel any tightness or tension across the top of your head, around your eyes, your ears, your jaw, just breathe into it and let it soften. Your throat and neck, down your shoulders, into your arms, your wrists, your hands, your fingers. Just breathe into any tightness, any tense places. Just let that breath soften those places. Your shoulders, your chest, your back, your stomach. Let everything soften. Down your hips, down your thighs, your knees, calves down your ankles and feet and toes. Just let everything soften and relax. I'm going to do a series of movements that are designed to help loosen up everything, starting at the top and working their way down. There's a principle of Song that just means expansion and contraction of the joints. So if you extend your arm, you don't want to, again, you don't want to lock the joint, but you visualize all the joints expanding outward. So it's like your arm's getting longer, your fingers are getting longer. And that's on the inhale, and on the exhale, it just relaxes back to where it was. So starting at the top, we'll just let our arms float up with the palms facing. You have acupressure points in your hands called Gong points where your fingers touch your palms. So let your arms stretch out. Turn your palms towards your face. As you press in, you drop the elbows, your head moves back just a bit. Just put some stretch in your neck. You turn your hands, you press out. And then down and tuck your chin just a bit. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. And exhale. One more. Just come back to the center and just relax. Arms float up again with your palms facing, this time one hand, either one, it doesn't matter. You can have some bend in your wrist. You have big acupressure points in your wrist, so it's called settling your wrist. You just bend your hand, whatever's comfortable for you. Bring the other hand, so this Gong point lines up with what's called the upper dantian. It's the third eye in yoga. We're going to turn to the side, just moving your arm and your head, 70% of your range of motion to that side. Come back to the center. The lower hand comes up, palms face briefly. You exhale to the side. Inhale to the center. We'll do two more on each side. We'll do one more. Come back, let your arms relax down by your side. Just let your shoulders soften. Another one for the neck. You turn your head to the side, drop your chin, let it roll across the bottom. It comes back up to the center line and goes straight across, so you don't look up at all. It's an exhale across the bottom. Inhale across the center. And just reverse. Back to center. For the shoulders, we do initially shoulder rolls. If you have issues with rotator cuffs and doing shoulder rolls like this is uncomfortable for you, you can rotate your arms so your palms face behind you and you can make the circles with your elbows. It just kind of moves your shoulders along. We're just going to do about 3 going to the front. And then reverse. And then a movement that again you can use visualization for. It's sometimes called sinking your chi. Your arms start to come up, palms facing down. You can visualize clean energy from the earth coming into your palms and those Qigong points. When they point upwards, clean yang energy from the heavens, and then pressing that down through your body and expelling any stagnant energy out through your feet. It's an inhale on the way up and exhale on the way down. The reason for that visualization is Chinese medicine sees injury, illness, is a function of blocked energy, stagnant energy, too much energy, too little energy. So the purpose of all this is balance, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual balance. Again, it doesn't matter if you believe that or not, but visualization has been used for, in the West, at least 50 years for healing and for improving athletic performance. We'll do one more. This time, bring your arms up with your palms facing down for the shoulders. Bring your hands in so your forearms are touching. If that's uncomfortable, you can visualize uh, whatever it is you can't do, and your brain will think you're actually doing it and put that into your body. Arms come back, stretching and opening the chest as you inhale, exhale as you open the upper back. And your arms are with your fingers pointed straight up and your elbows at about right angles. The elbows, you just extend your arms out and then bring them back towards you. But again, not all the way. It's an exhale out and an inhale in. And then just pause, and for your wrists, just let them tilt towards you and away from you. And my wrists always pop when I do this. If you do a lot of keyboard work, odds are they're going to pop. And then towards and away from each other, like they're waving at each other. And it circles one way, and then the other way. You fold your fingers over with your thumbs on the outsides of your fingers. Taijiquan is a martial art, so they never put their thumbs on the inside. If you hit something, you break your thumb. But they also don't squeeze their hands so tightly they make fingernail prints in their palms. You just have very soft fists. Then come to rest by your hips. You reach out and you hit that sun principle. Your arm extends outward, it gets longer. You open your hand, your fingers get longer, they curl and pull back in. With this one, we're doing it for the flexibility in the hands. So it's just a soft curl. In some hard martial arts, they use this by visualizing or actually using like a rubber ball that they squeeze to increase the strength of the fingers. Just flex your fingers. Get nice and balanced. And then you hold the ball. There's a lot of holding the ball and all of this stuff. Um, have your elbow of your upper arm lower than your shoulder. You don't want it up like this. That puts too much pressure on the rotator cuffs. This one is called touching heaven and earth. The lower hand rotates up, upper hand presses down. In this particular series, it's used for stretching the muscles in the back. In coming weeks, we'll do something called 8 pieces of brocade, where it's used for massaging internal organs. There's a lot of massage in Qigong, external massage, like rubbing your, especially over your kidney area, your arms, your legs to open up energy points. But they also do internal massage by using movements on the body, like this one and the next one, which again, and this is used for your back muscles, but you're doing something similar to silk breathing where you're turning from the hips up. Everything from the hips down stays nice and still. So I've got this hand on top. I'm going to rotate till the hands line up with the hip on that side, then turn the hands around, keeping the palms facing. Come back to the side, hip on the other side. Just very gently, like you're moving through a gentle resistance, very soft, like you're in water and the water is pushing back. Turn from one side to the other. If you want, you can synchronize your breathing so you're inhaling in one direction and exhaling in the other. Come back to center. The hips, first you have your hands to one side like you're pressing into a wall. You shift all your weight into foot on that side. So now that foot's my foundation. My center is right over that foot. No weight in the other foot. You can just reach out and touch so you feel some stretch in the hip. Come back to the center, hands go to the other side. You step out and back. It's an exhale, an inhale. You're pretty secure with your balance. You don't even have to touch your foot down. You can just let it swing out a little bit and come back. But again, you stay in your comfort zone. In China, they play Taiji. They don't work at Taiji. If you can't smile when you're doing something, you back off until you can. Another one for the hips. Palms are facing towards the floor, just like you're maybe resting on a railing. Shift all your weight into one foot. Arms go back just a little bit to counterbalance as the foot goes up, heel touches. Foot goes straight back. Arms go forward to counterbalance and forefoot touches. Again, you keep your body centered over the foot that's holding the weight. It's a substantial foot. And you stay perpendicular over that foot. And again, if you're comfortable with your balance, your foot goes almost like a clock pendulum. Your arms are the counterweight and your body is the clock. Other side. Let's do one more. Come back to center. The next, we're going to be stepping forward in what's called a bow and arrow stance. So your toes are towards the corner. You shift your weight into one foot and you rotate on the forefoot of the other foot. Step straight up. So the foot in the front, the toes are straight ahead. The foot in the back, toes are at a 45-degree angle. And again, you never have your knee go beyond your toe. The question is if I can do this without tripping over the cord. Shift your weight into one foot, step up with the other foot. The opposite arm is going to counterbalance by reaching out. And again, the principle of sung, stretch out and back. This one really, for me, stretches the whole body. I just felt my neck crack and gave myself a chiropractic adjustment there. And back. It's an exhale. An inhale. If you're doing this on your own, you can do as many as you want. Typically, China, you would do multiples of 3. A lot of times, instead of doing 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of these things, we'd be doing like starting with 18. Okay, back, centered, feet parallel, shoulder width apart. Just shift your weight for the ankles. It's a heel and toe. And same thing on the other side. And then for the lateral motion in the ankle, you just pick a spot on the floor, outside the foot, inside the foot, touch as close to the same place as you can. And the same thing on the other side. And then back to the center. And then shift all your weight into one foot. The heel on the other foot naturally comes up, and being very gentle with your ankle, the hip, just circle one way, and then the other way. Same thing on the other side. And then the other way. And back to center. If you're having to do a lot of keyboard work, especially with distance learning, one you can use to kind of loosen up your hands or relax your hands is one the Harvard Medical School calls Taiji Anywhere, where your hands are about waist high, fingertips facing. As you breathe in, you visualize your fingers getting longer, your wrists expanding. As you exhale, they just come back to where they were. Some of the classes I was doing back around Christmas, folks are doing this one because one person in particular was having to make a lot of wreaths for Colonial Williamsburg. He's got really sore, but this helped take the soreness out. Again, you can do this as many times as you want. In Harvard Medical School tried to really simplify Taiji. They have something they call a Taiji swing, where you're nice and balanced like this, and you shift your weight from one side to the other. As you do, all your weight goes into one foot, and the heel on the other foot comes up. Your arms swing just like your hands are tether balls that are directly attached to your spine. It's like your shoulders disappear. One of the reasons they try to simplify it is some folks would not want to continue Taiji because they felt there was too many forms to learn and too complicated. And this isn't complicated. It's just weight shifts, and it's turning on that center axis that's Basically, again, silk reeling, we'll talk about that more later in the subsequent week. They add something called drumming. Before we do that though, if you do this with your eyes closed, you can just visualize yourself in a place where you feel very safe and secure and serene. If doing it with your eyes closed makes you a little seasick, you just open your eyes and keep your eyes focused on something straight ahead that's not moving. It has kind of the added benefit of loosening up your neck a little bit too. Drumming is just tapping on acupressure points. So the hand that's down low is hit just inside the hip. Right now, the upper hand is hitting a lung point right inside the shoulder. And then at the base of the rib cage, and right inside the hip, the inguinal crease. And then what's called the lower dantian is just below your belly button. Dantian just stands for energy field. And then you just go back to sleep. Back to the center. They also use something called pouring, and it's been used traditionally in Tai Chi for teaching sidestepping, where you just shift your way from one side to the other. And you visualize water that's the same temperature and salinity as your body, just flowing from one side to the other. It takes a long time to do it. We're not going to do it today. But you start at your toes, you work your way cell by cell almost all the way up to the top of your head, down to your fingertips, with that water just flowing from one side to the other, cleaning all the cells, getting rid of any tight spots or adhesions. And you just relax into the center. Bring your hands up like you're holding a really large ball. Upper hand keeps your head still, lower hand moves your hip out, and you're working on you're not working, you're just letting your hips loosen up your lower back. Just come back to center. Another pretty easy one to remember is something called, it's a standing meditation called standing stake or standing pole. There's a little bit of a bend in your knees. You can make it harder by having your feet further apart, and you're in a real horse riding stance. You can bring your feet closer together so it's easier. Let your arms come up with your palms facing. Drop your elbows down like you're holding your arms around a large tree. And then you focus on your breathing. You can hold this for however long you want. You can do a specific number of breaths. You can put a clock on it, or you can just relax into it. Don't worry about timing it, just hold it however long you want. If you're studying a traditional class with a traditional Chinese teacher, you'll be doing this a lot. It might be the only thing you do the first class, and they'll ask you to do it on your own. And when you're all set, you're all balanced. Your arms are ready to come down. You balance everything out. Hands come down. Inhale up. And exhale down. We'll do 6. And at the end, make a flat hand with a left hand, thumb over, right hand makes a fist, and they come together. Thanks for participating. See you again soon. I hope. Stay well and safe. We'll cut the recording And see if we can